I'm Jason, a junior at a state college, and I've never been on a big Valentine's Day. This year, though, I decided to do something sweet for the girl I've been casually dating, Sasha, by sending her flowers. I went to the local florist a week prior, ordering a dozen roses to be delivered to her off-campus apartment on February 14th. And that's how this all began. On Valentine's morning, I got a text from Sasha. "Thanks for the weird present?" Confused, I asked what she meant. She sent me a picture of a bouquet of dead roses, a wilted, browning mess tied together with a black ribbon sitting on her doorstep. My heart sank. That wasn't what I ordered. I called the florist, livid, demanding an explanation. The shop owner insisted she'd done no deliveries yet that morning and had no record of black ribbons. She even offered me a refund for the trouble. Realizing it might just be a cruel prank, I told Sasha I'd make it up to her later. That afternoon, I went to her place. The dead flowers lay abandoned by the trash bin, the smell foul. Sasha shook her head and said she was creeped out, but not too concerned. Maybe one of her exes? She did have a messy breakup last semester. I reassured her I'd handle it if we found out who'd done it. Around 9 p.m., a real bouquet arrived. Beautiful red roses with a pink teddy bear. Sasha laughed, hugging me. We forgot about the dead roses for the evening. Over dinner at a local bistro, though, I sensed her unease. She kept glancing at her phone, and after the third or fourth time, I asked if something was wrong. She hesitated, then showed me a new text. "You didn't like my roses? That's rude." The sender ID was blocked, no number. I felt anger surge. Some jerk was messing with her. After dinner, we returned to her apartment, deciding to hang out and see if the sender would escalate. Her phone chimed again just after 9 p.m. "I see you came back with him." Our blood ran cold. Someone was watching. I threw open the curtains and peered outside into the dark parking lot, but all I saw were a few parked cars and a street lamp. We debated calling the police, but Sasha wasn't sure if they could do anything beyond taking a statement. She blocked the unknown sender and we tried to relax. A little later, after 10 p.m., she got an email from an account named deathsembrace@gmail.com. The subject read, "The Perfect Valentine." The body contained only a single image. A close-up photo of the dead roses taken inside her apartment building's hallway. My heart pounded. This person had been right outside her door. I insisted we call the police now, and she agreed. The officer who arrived took down the details and checked the hallway security camera. Unfortunately, the cameras had been broken for weeks. All we had was the email and a phone number blocked by privacy settings. The officer told us to stay alert and to call 911 if the suspect showed up again. Sasha asked if I'd spend the night. She felt too uneasy to be alone. We settled in, triple-checking that the doors and windows were locked. Around midnight, a soft, deliberate knock rattled the door. Fear jolted us upright. I grabbed a small wooden bat Sasha kept for self-defense, stepping close to the door. "Who is it?" I demanded, trying not to let my voice shake. Silence. I peeked through the peephole, but no one stood there. Another knock, this time on the window. Sasha stifled a gasp. I glanced out, but only saw the reflection of our own living room. Then, a chilling thought. The knock had come from the bedroom window, second floor height. Unless someone had a ladder, that was impossible. We crept to the bedroom, heart hammering. The blinds were down, but faint shadows moved outside. Sasha called 911, whispering frantically. A moment later, the shadow was gone. We braced ourselves, waiting. In the silence that followed, my pulse roared in my ears. Flashing lights illuminated the street as the police arrived. We flung open the door, urging them inside. They swept the apartment and checked around the building, finding no sign of the intruder. However, at the base of a tree behind the building, an officer discovered fresh shoe prints. Someone had likely climbed the tree to tap on the window. The footprints led to the alley, then vanished. Sasha and I both filed official reports. Over the next few days, she got no new texts or emails. The police suggested it might have been a stranger's twisted Valentine's prank. Maybe an ex or a disturbed neighbor. We never found out. She changed apartments a month later, feeling the place was tainted by that memory. I don't blame her. It's been a year and we're still together. But every Valentine's Day, a tiny part of me replays those knocks. That photograph of dead roses. And the knowledge that someone was willing to go to extreme lengths to scare her. We'll celebrate the holiday in a new place this time, with better locks and better cameras. And hopefully, a little less fear in our hearts. My name's Melissa, and I'm 24 years old. This Valentine's Day, I decided to break my streak of single girl February 14th by going on a date with someone I met through a popular dating app. I was skeptical, sure, but I figured it was safer than a blind date. At least I'd seen pictures and read a profile. How wrong I was. A week before Valentine's Day, I matched with a guy named Ryan. He seemed sweet, into hiking, dogs, indie music. We texted back and forth for a while, and he proposed a dinner date on the 14th. Normally I'd insist on coffee first, but I was tired of the same routine. I wanted to be bold, so I said yes. We met at a cozy Italian restaurant downtown. Ryan looked like his photos, tallish, dark hair, polite smile, but he seemed a bit jittery. He kept checking over his shoulder and fidgeting with his napkin. I asked if he was nervous. He laughed it off, saying he was just excited to meet me in person. We made small talk about our jobs, he claimed to be a freelance photographer, and our hometowns. Everything felt normal enough, except for his eyes darting around the room. Halfway through dinner, he complimented my earrings, leaning in closer than necessary. I told him they were a gift from my mom. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Mothers are important, he said, softly, and then fell silent. That's when I noticed him fiddling with his phone under the table, angling it in my direction. A chill ran down my spine. Was he taking pictures? I tried to brush it off. Maybe he was checking messages. An uneasy feeling settled in my stomach. After dessert, Ryan offered to drive me home. I declined, insisting I had a friend waiting a few blocks away. I'd actually parked my car across the street. He pressed the issue, but I lied and said I was meeting someone for drinks. He didn't look happy, but he forced a smile and paid the check. The second we stepped onto the sidewalk, he asked if we could take a walk somewhere private. I pretended to check my phone, claiming I was late to meet a friend. His jaw twitched, and he mumbled something about how the night wasn't over yet. I gave a half laugh and said we'd catch up later. He stepped forward, almost blocking my path. For a moment, my heart hammered. He seemed bigger under the streetlight, his polite demeanor slipping. And then he stepped aside, letting me pass. I walked briskly in the opposite direction of my car, not wanting him to see where I was parked. About a block away, I ducked into a convenience store and told the cashier I was being followed. She let me watch through the window, and sure enough, Ryan trailed me, lingering at the corner, scanning the streets. My heart pounded so loudly I thought the cashier might hear it. After a few minutes, Ryan pulled out his phone, typed something, and stormed off. I waited another 10 minutes before I dared step outside. My car was only a short sprint away. I made it home safely, but the uneasy feeling refused to fade. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number reading, "You looked beautiful tonight." My blood ran cold. Maybe it was nothing, I told myself. But the next message came moments later. "Saw you hide in that store. Was that friend you mentioned there?" My stomach dropped. I blocked the number immediately. Days passed with no word. And then on February 17th, I noticed something unusual in my phone's photo gallery. Hidden among my photos was a new folder, empty except for a single image. Me at the restaurant table, eyes down reading the menu. Taken from across the table, Ryan's point of view. I never gave him access to my phone. I realized he must have snatched it at some point during dinner or used a close-range sharing feature. The date stamp read February 14th, 8:15 p.m. I spent the next hours changing passwords, installing security apps, and scouring social media. I even switched phone carriers. I checked the dating app, but Ryan's profile was gone, like he'd never existed. I reported everything to the police. They took notes and said I was probably fine if I'd blocked him and changed my information, but they couldn't do much more without direct threats. I asked the restaurant if they had security footage, but they claimed the cameras had been out of order for weeks. It felt like every loose end led nowhere. I haven't received another text or found any more mysterious photos. I've switched to a new phone, changed my locks, and deleted all my dating apps. Sometimes, though, I'll catch a glimpse of a tall figure with dark hair in a crowd and feel my stomach lurch. I can't help but wonder if he's still out there, phone in hand, capturing someone else's unsuspecting smile. Valentine's Day was supposed to be about romance and connection. But for me, it became a reminder that sometimes the person sitting across from you has a far darker interest than just a pleasant conversation. I'm Kara, 32 years old, living in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Valentine's Day around here's usually low-key. Neighbors exchanging candy, kids drawing chalk hearts on sidewalks. But last year, I received a misdelivered package that led to a Valentine's encounter I'll never forget. On February 12th, a small box arrived on my doorstep addressed to Lillian Fields. No one by that name lived here. The return label was smudged and nearly illegible, but I could make out Rosewood Lane from somewhere out of state. I assumed it was just a shipping error, so I left it unopened on my kitchen table, planning to drop it off at the post office the next day. That night, I heard odd tapping sounds outside my living room window. My motion light flicked on, revealing only my hedge. Probably a stray cat, I told myself. The next day, work got hectic and I forgot about the package. By the time I remembered, it was after the post office closed. I figured I'd go tomorrow. On February 14th, Valentine's Day, I got home around 6 p.m., carrying groceries and flowers I'd bought for myself. I was single, so why not? I nearly tripped over a stack of envelopes scattered across my front step. My mailbox had been pried open, letters tossed around. Fear flared. Maybe local teens messing with mail? As I gathered the envelopes, I noticed one was a bright pink love letter addressed to Lillian Fields again, with my address. Now I was spooked. Inside, I set down my groceries and approached the box on the table. Something about the coincidence unnerved me. The label read, "For my love, Lillian," in slanted handwriting. Maybe I should have dropped it off sooner. I resolved to open it, if only to check for an address inside. Carefully, I sliced the tape and lifted the flaps. Inside was a small, heart-shaped locket attached to a velvet choker, plus a folded note that read, "This collar's for you, my sweet Lily. You'll wear it and I'll know you're mine." My stomach twisted. The penmanship matched the pink envelope on my doorstep. A second note lay beneath the first. "Don't show anyone, or I'll be angry." My skin crawled. This was more than just a misdelivered gift. I tried calling the post office, but they were closed for the holiday. My mind raced with questions. Who was Lillian Fields? Why was my address on these disturbing packages? The knock on my front door startled me so badly I dropped my phone. Heart pounding, I asked through the door, "Who's there?" No answer. I peered through the peephole. A man stood on my porch wearing a tattered coat, hood pulled over his face. He clutched something in his hand, a box maybe. Dread gnawed at me. "I'm sorry, I can't help you," I called, voice trembling. The man knocked again, harder. Then, slowly, he leaned toward the peephole. I only saw the lower half of his face, twisted into a grimace or sneer. Without warning, he slammed his fist against the door. I jumped back, stifling a scream. Grabbing my phone, I dialed 911. While I spoke with the dispatcher, the knocking stopped. I mustered the courage to peek outside. The porch was empty. Snow flurries drifted across the walkway, erasing footprints within minutes. The police arrived, took my statement, and checked the area. They found nothing, just my damaged mailbox. They suggested it could be a stalker or a confused ex trying to find this Lillian Fields. I spent Valentine's night on edge, lights blazing in every room. Around midnight, my phone dinged. A new email. It was from an unrecognized address. "I love you, Lily, at some free domain." I opened it, heart pounding. The body read, "You can't keep my gifts forever. This house was ours, don't deny it." Terror washed over me. The only attachment was a photo of my front porch taken from the street. Desperate, I started searching online for a Lillian Fields connected to my address. Nothing relevant. The next morning, I contacted the neighbors, asking if they knew any prior residents by that name. One elderly neighbor recalled that over a decade ago, a young woman named Lillian had rented the place. She allegedly left after a messy relationship ended in a restraining order. My neighbor didn't recall details, just that the man was unstable. Everything clicked into a horrifying picture. This man either didn't realize Lillian had moved or refused to accept it. He believed she still lived there. The mailbox break-in, the package, the letter. He was trying to reunite with her, and I was caught in the crossfire. I forwarded the emails to the local police. A detective visited, advising me to stay elsewhere if I felt unsafe. The city was short on resources, and they had no clear lead on the suspect's identity. I had nowhere else to go, so I installed new locks, borrowed a friend's dog for a few days, and prayed it would blow over. For a while, it did. Days passed without incident until February 20th, when a final letter arrived in my mailbox. It said, "I'm done waiting, Lily. This ends now. You'll regret ignoring me." Panic seized me. That night, I heard scraping noises at my back door. I called the police again. By the time they arrived, no one was there, but the handle was badly scratched, almost pried open. My yard's gate was left ajar. Shaken beyond measure, I packed a suitcase and stayed with a friend across town. Over the next week, there were no new letters or emails. When I returned home, the detective told me they'd increased patrols around the block. They suspected the man realized his error, or maybe he moved on. Part of me feared he was just waiting. Months later, I haven't heard from I Love You, Lily, or found any more twisted packages. But Valentine's Day is forever tainted by that memory of the hooded figure pounding on my door. The threatening notes, and the knowledge that someone out there was convinced I was his missing lover. I've considered moving, but financially it's not possible yet. So each February, I brace myself, half expecting another envelope or a ring at my door. Love letters and heartfelt tokens used to sound romantic, until one was meant for someone else, someone who escaped a nightmare that I accidentally stepped into.